Hi, everyone. I'm Kobe, a product manager on Google Play.
And I'm Elena, engineering manager on Google Play. We work on Play Apps developer team in London. Today, we're here to tell you how you can set your app for success using some of the tools that we provide in Google Play Developer Console. We'll talk about rapid iteration and experimentation, and we'll tell you how some developers are using these services to have success on Play.
The vision of our team is to build powerful publishing tools, allowing you to launch and iterate. We believe that experimentation is the key to success. Throughout this presentation, you'll see a lot of developer feedback. And we'll start with the feedback we have from Michael Reeder, SVP Business Development at SGN, about why they released Genies and Gems Android first. The quick publishing time on Google Play is the key. You can make multiple submissions in a short time, iterating on your product. Rapid iteration and experimentation is the key to success. SGN are power users of tools like beta testing and store listing experiments. We will show you how other developers are using these tools, and we will share some best practices. SGN use our tools, and then they utilize their finding across platforms. This leads to a much more efficient soft launch process. Soft launching is a great way to make sure your app or game deliver value to your users. As a result, their worldwide launch was much more successful, and this is exactly what we have in mind when we're building those tools for you. Our goal is to help you experiment, launch, and iterate fast.
We got a similar feedback from Concrete Software, developers of PBA Bowling Challenge. They've told us that they soft launch on Android first because it allows them to iterate faster and to launch kind of in a better way. This is exactly music to our ears, exactly the feedback we like to hear, and a practice we would like to encourage.
So what are we going to talk about?
OK, so we're going to start by talking about beta testing and some of the improvements we are making to this service to make it even easier to run large beta programs and to get feedback from your users. Then we'll talk about the best way to roll out these rapid changes in a safe and controlled fashion. Then we'll go on to talk about how you can understand your users using user acquisition report and how you can optimize your user acquisition using store listing experiments. We will also talk about the importance of experimentation if you're looking to go globally and localize your app to all the global markets. And finally, we will also touch on how you can keep an eye on the performance of your app on the go using new Play Console mobile app. Throughout this session, we'll mention new features that we launched recently or the ones that we're launching today or very soon.
OK, so let's start with beta testing. This is a great way to improve your apps and games. 60% of the top 1,000 apps on Google Play are running a beta test right now. And the goal is obviously to test your apps and games with testers and early adopters. It used to be challenging in the past to join beta, so we launched closed and open betas. With open beta, it's as simple as clicking a URL.
Did you know that there are many big apps that are running very large open beta programs? For example, Minecraft, Uber, Google Search app, and many others.
Nice. So here's a great example of a developer that is using this platform in a very correct way. Hopper, an app helping travelers make better decisions. They run an internal alpha testing and then a much larger public beta test. And you can see from their feedback, it cuts their testing and rollout time by half without adding any extra work for them or their testers. This is exactly what we had in mind when we built this model. We're making it even easier for users to discover and join beta testing. Very soon, users will be able to join beta tests directly through your store listing page on Google Play. So if you run an open beta, you can just tell users, go to our page, click it there, join our beta, and give us feedback. Feedback. You used to collect feedback through various sources and had to parse a lot of information. From now on, users that are part of your beta test will be able to submit private feedback to you directly through Google Play. This feedback is private. You can see it in the Google Play Developer Console. It doesn't show to other users, and it doesn't impact your app star rating. Now, we believe that apps and games should be launched in open beta even before they go live in production. This is why soon we are going to introduce a new section on Google Play called Early Access. In this section, we will feature exciting apps and games that are still in development and haven't launched to production yet. This will allow developers, you guys, to test your apps early on with early adopters and influencers, giving you private feedback, making sure you can find product market fit earlier or fine-tune your game's KPIs. In our first collection, we are going to introduce 28 apps and games. You can see them up here, pretty cool icons. We have, for example, ReadFeed. It's an Android-first online book club. Or we have Ava. The founder, whose parents and sisters are deaf, created this app to help deaf people and people with hearing disabilities to participate in real-life conversations. Then we have Lego, the kids and family power brand with their first ever in-house mobile game. It's a 3D Lego set. You can touch, twist, just like the brick sets we all grew up with. Now, early access is not going to be just for free-to-play. Never Alone, a gorgeous game developed by Eline Media, who researched together with the Alaska Natives, is coming to Google Play on early access. They chose early access because it's a great way to make sure they get feedback from their fans and making sure the gaming experience is a premium one. We are sure those changes that we're doing to beta testing will help you create larger beta tests, making your apps and games even more awesome.
OK, Kobe mentioned that users will be able to give private feedback on open beta apps. I know you all know how important it is to listen to user feedback and to act on it. Recently, we have launched a number of improvements to user reviews functionality in Google Play Developer Console, allowing you to, for example, search your reviews by keyword, or, for example, to see various breakdowns of rating aggregates by a number of different dimensions, for example, device, country, app version, and so on. In addition to that, we made it possible to sign up for notifications, for email notifications, if you, when users change their review after your reply. I'm happy to announce that today we launched review analysis. These are further improvements to user reviews functionality in Google Play Developer Console, and they come in several different tools. One of them is benchmarks across a number of fixed aspects, for example, design, stability, or speed. So it basically allows you to compare how your app is doing comparing to other similar apps on these fixed aspects. In addition to this, we also launched unique topics, so analyzing all of your user reviews and trying to extract what are those specific topics that users are talking about just for your app. OK, let's talk about release management tools.
Sounds good.
Cool. So you beta tested your app, you addressed a bunch of user feedback, and now you want to launch a production. In this critical moment in time, we want to be there for you. We want to give you as much support as we can so you can roll out in a very safe and controlled fashion. One feature that I want to remind everyone of is stage rollouts. Stage rollouts allow you to roll out gradually, keeping an eye on the performance of your app so that you can halt in case of any issues. In case issues do happen, and we all know that they do, you will be able to halt, and you will only unhalt if you, like, very specifically, if you do that action or upload new set of APKs. And here is one power tip. When you start the stage rollouts, we select a random percentage of users who become eligible for this new update. If you increase the percentage, we add more users to the randomly selected set. If you start the next stage rollout, we use a completely different seed, which means it's not always the same set of users getting less stable versions, so you don't have to worry about that. For example, you can see how developers like FTX Games use stage rollouts to confidently roll out and frequently roll out new versions of their app.
OK, so since we're talking about release management, I want to mention another feature we launched recently called time publishing. We know that you appreciate the quick publishing times available on Google Play, but we wanted to do better, meaning giving you exact control on the moment your app update goes live. With time publishing, you can make as many changes, like APK changes, store listing updates, as you wish. We batch all the changes, and they don't go live until you click the Go Live button in the Google Play Developer Console. When you click it, the changes go live within minutes. You also have a changes log showing you exactly what changes are about to go live, which is a great way to manage your release. You can see the feedback from Flare Games here, showing us how this feature is super useful for them. OK, now let's talk about understanding visits to your store listing page in Google Play. It's very important to understand where your users are coming from. And
sometime last year, we launched user acquisition funnel. This funnel allows you to see how many of visitors to your store listing page are being converted to installers, and how many of those installers are then converting to become in-app purchasers. In addition to this, you can further break down this report by, for example, user acquisition source or channel, for example, seeing whether users are coming from Play Store organically or from different channels like advertising. I'm pretty sure that, like Trulia, so far you found this report to be very useful. And since understanding where your users are coming from is so important, a couple of weeks ago we have launched another improvement to this funnel, which allows you to break it down by country. This is very important because it allows you to localize your app in a more efficient way. And to take it one step further, we're happy to announce that very soon we will be launching conversion funnel benchmarks. This will allow you to compare how your app is doing against other similar apps in terms of how efficiently it's converting users from visitors to store listing page to installers. Stay tuned, this is coming very soon. And once you see who's visiting your store listing page, you'll want to optimize, right?
Yep.
Right. OK, so let's talk about getting you some more users. To do that, we want to make sure that your store listing really shows off your app in the best possible light. And in order to get to the best store listing, we need to experiment. This is where store listing experiments come in. This feature has been a very big success with developers in the past year. More than 70% of our top developers are using the feature. We often get feedback from developers, for example, like this one from Good Game Studios, that it drives significant uplift to their conversion rate.
A big opportunity to get more installs is optimizing the top of the funnel, your store listing page. This is where users make their install decision regardless of whether they found the app through search or via deep link. Before we launched it, you had to use a bunch of workarounds and spend some budget. You can see the feedback from Rovio here, how they had to run icon test and spend budget. After we launch it, you can see their feedback about soft launching first on Google Play, as it allows them to better understand their users. Store listing experiments have been seeing great success. In the last year, you can see Flare Games up here, 30% increase in installs. eRepublic Labs running this exactly the way we thought about it, as a rapid iteration and experimentation tools. Expedia, 10% increase of installs globally, and actually their most successful test was reordering screenshots.
Here are some best practices when running store listing experiments. Create a hypothesis first. Make sure you know what you're trying to prove. Next, test one thing at a time. Run your experiments until they have reached statistical significance. We'll let you know when this has happened. Minor tweaks often have minor impact. Consider bold changes, especially if you're early in your startup's life. And finally, keep testing. The next major improvement may be still to come. Here is some great feedback we received from Jamie Berger, head of marketing at Scopely. You can see how this feature encourages testing and validation of new and bold ideas. We're very happy to see how they use this as their go-to tool for market testing and optimization. OK,
so here's some great example of the best practices in action with Instacart. We've learned that an app description that clearly shows your app value to users just works better. So you can see control versus experiment. Experiments is much clearer, plus 14% in installs. And here's a bunch of great examples from concrete software. Sometimes you just get lucky. They run an icon test for NHL, hockey, target smash, plus 70% installs. Boom. It's great, right? But sometimes you actually need to launch, iterate, and experiment a lot. So with PBA Bowling Challenge, they ran a series of experiments, and every icon that you see here represents a complete series of experiments. They also iterated on their description, screenshots, and their order, leading to a compound effect of 63%. This is incredible. Now let's see an example from Mixi, a leading game developer from Japan, that will show us how a leading game developer thinks about localization and experimentation. When Mixi wanted to take their big hit, Monster Strike, to the US, they ran a series of experiments. They tested the icon, the screenshots, the description, and the video. In this chart, you can see how they run the experiments methodically and scientifically, leading to a compound effect of 68% in installs. Store listing experiment helped Mixi understand the difference in taste and flavor between users in the US, and users in Japan and help them localize their games much better. And here's the feedback we got from their X-Flag Studio team. This feedback makes us really excited, as our mission is to help you test directly on our platform.
We want you to experiment, we want you to iterate, and we want you to do this fast. This is why I'm happy to announce that last week we launched multiple concurrent localized store listing experiments. We want you to go globally faster and have better tools to test localized versions of your store listing. You can now run up to 5 experiments with different languages at the same time.
Awesome. So you're talking about making things faster, right?
Indeed.
One thing that is not fast today is making price changes in the developer console. This really sucks, actually. Because lots of people have the same price point to many in our products or paid apps. So what are we going to do about that?
I'm very glad you asked, Kobe. We want to make this faster as well. We want to make pricing faster as well. So I'm also happy to announce that earlier this week we have launched pricing templates. With pricing templates, you can define prices across all of the market that Google Play supports. Did you guys know that there are 70 such markets now? Yeah. Once you create a template, you can link it to as many paid apps or in-app products as you want. If you make a change to template, it gets propagated to all of the apps. So, for example, if you're like Tokaboka Games and selling multiple titles at, let's say, $2.99, you only need to make changes to your template once, and it will be propagated to all of your apps. If you're like Wooga, selling in-app products and multiple price points, for example, $1.99, $4.99, and $9.99, you only need to maintain 3 templates. And instead of manually making changes to tens or hundreds of individual pricing points in multiple different currencies. Like in this feedback we got from Tokaboka, we hope pricing templates will help you move faster and get successful.
OK, so it's important for us you're also able to localize your price better. This is why we also launched round pricing. With round pricing, we're not, like we used to do, just converting the price using today's exchange rate. We also apply locally relevant country-specific rounding rules. So a price like 9.73 euros become 9.99 euros. A price like 196 Japanese yen simply becomes 200 Japanese yen. And 25,235 Indonesian rupee simply becomes 25,000 Indonesian rupee. We are sure that this change, like the feedback you see here from Wooga, will help you streamline your pricing structures and make your businesses even better. Now, while we're helping you make price changes faster with templates and more locally relevant with rounding, we're keeping your ability to tweak the prices manually in the developer console. We know that this is important for you when you run short-time promotion or try new pricing strategies. We are sure that the new changes we are making to pricing will help you go globally faster.
OK, last but not least, finally we have a mobile app for Google Play Developer Console. We have to admit it took us a while, it took us much longer than it took all of you guys, but we've made it. And we can tell you this app stuff is pretty sweet. We really like it now. Our new app allows you to follow your app's performance on the go and to do time-critical changes wherever you are. When you're rapidly iterating, you need a power tool that's in your pocket at all times, and we've built Play Console app exactly with those use cases in mind. Whether you want to quickly reply to user review or show off performance of your app to a venture capitalist, Play Console app should be there to support you. Regarding an initial feature set, obviously you can track installs and uninstalls, and you can break them down by a number of dimensions like app version, country, device, and so on. You can also track your crash reports, including hourly data and full stack traces. You can also see ratings and user reviews, and you can reply to user reviews. You can also track the state of your release. For example, is it in beta testing, is it in stage rollout, or has it reached prod yet? Oh, and one more thing, you can obviously get push notifications. Everyone loves those. When there are certain important changes to your app, for example, when your app updates go live. If you haven't installed the app yet, please do. If you're still not convinced, please come to Play Sandbox. We would love to convince you. And if you have any feedback, send it to us. We intend to listen and add more functionality in the next couple of versions.
OK, so today we spoke about launching, experimenting, and iterating on Google Play. With the new changes we're going to introduce to beta test, it will become easier for users to discover and join your beta programs, and for you to build bigger, larger beta audiences and improve your apps and games. Users will be able to send you private feedback that only you can see in the developer console. The new early access section will feature exciting apps and games that are still in development. We also spoke about better understanding your users with our new mobile apps that Milena just mentioned, and a bunch of enhancements such as benchmark to the user acquisition report. Finally, we spoke about making things faster with multiple localized store listing experiments and price templates, as well as making prices more locally relevant with rounding. We are really excited to getting developer feedback like the one you see here from Scott Rubin, SVP of Business Development at Roblox, telling us how features like store listing experiments encourage them to launch their next major update on Android first. We hope that the tools we're building will encourage you to continue to launching and iterating on our platform. We will continue to help building more powerful publishing tools, allowing you to experiment, iterate, and make your apps and games even more awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite to the stage Larissa and Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks, Milena and Kobe. That was an amazing overview of all of the cool stuff launching in the developer console. You can see that Aaron and I are really excited about this talk today, so much so that we decided to dress the part. How you doing there, Indy? My name's Larissa, and I lead business development with the apps team at Google Play. My team and I work with developers to help them build great apps and successful businesses on the platform.
And I'm Aaron. I lead search and discovery on Play. My team is focused on making sure users find great apps.
As much as I love Short Round, I'm going to take the hat off so I can see you guys. So I talk to developers all the time, and understanding how store discovery works always comes up as an important topic. We know that it can feel difficult to break through the noise and to help users find your app at exactly the right time. More apps are being uploaded to the store every day, making it even harder to break through. And studies show that more users are using the same set of apps over and over again instead of downloading new ones. One theory is that app fatigue is driving this. But what if it's that users simply can't find all the great apps that are out there? And it's not only apps that are growing. The entire Android ecosystem is growing incredibly fast. You heard some of these numbers this morning. The one we're going to talk about here is 1 billion monthly store users. Out of that huge audience, we want to help you find the best users for your app. So that's why you're all here. Today, we're going to walk through how we can work together to improve app discovery in the Play Store. There are a lot of important elements that contribute to discovery, and some of which you've already heard about. But we're going to touch on a few of them again, because they're that important and because they directly contribute to discovery. We've narrowed them down to the most critical, and we're going to go through each of them. Build something great, listen to your users, optimize your presence, and expand your reach. And then we're going to share some insights about how the discovery mechanisms in the store actually work, some of which we've never shared before.
So as Larissa mentioned, it all starts with building something great. We want users to find the apps they will love. So 1/4 of installed apps are used only once. Wow, that's scarier than a pit of snakes.
All right, Aaron, let's tone it back.
Anyways, I promise no more. So this is why we want to start with building something great. So based on some internal analysis, we found that permissions, footprint, and design were all key components when it came to a user's perception of a great app. So starting with permissions. Excessive permissions can actually deter a user from installing your app in the first place. It's important to remember, if you don't need it, don't ask for it. Users may be wary of installing apps where the permissions don't seem to align with the app functionality. For example, why does a child's game need to access my phone's call logs? Second is footprint. Some users may be scared off by the footprint of your app. These users may be on poor internet connections or have limited phone memory. This is especially true in emerging markets where there are both phone and network limitations. So it's helpful to be mindful of SDK compatibility, APK size, and memory usage. Sometimes less is more. Third is design. So the user has installed your app. Now you want to ensure a great experience. So remember to limit the cognitive load. A well-designed app is intuitive and consistent and does not require a user to hunt, guess, remember, or otherwise strain their brains trying to figure out how to interact with your app. One tangible solution for making a highly usable app is implementing Google's design spec, known as material design. Here are two examples of apps that invested more in quality by adopting material design, which led to the benefit of more user engagement. It's pretty impressive, for example, that Trello saw 41% increase in activity per session by implementing material design. So you can do your best to build a great app, but how can you be sure it's actually great? More than half of poor user reviews are quality related, and a third of those are just about bugs and crashes. It can be difficult to get it right in the first iteration. So we recommend following the earlier advice of Milena and Kobe and using beta testing and staged rollouts to ensure that your app is great when it launches. So we've covered building and launching a great app. Now, just because your app is launched, it doesn't mean you need to stop engaging with your users. Listening to your users is important for continued success, and I'm going to explain why. You have a unique opportunity in Android to engage with your users directly by replying to the reviews via the developer console, and building an even more loved app as a result. One example is Aviary, who created a dialogue with their users by engaging with feedback. This responsiveness led to a 50% of reviewers revising their scores higher. It's crazy, right? User feedback can help make your app better, leading to higher ratings and a boost in discovery opportunities.
So after building a great app and listening to your users, it's important to create a Play Store listing that quickly and accurately reflects what your app is about. You're all familiar with the different elements of your listing. These really require some thoughtful attention. We've provided multiple ways for you to communicate the value of your app, and it's up to you to ensure they capture the most important and interesting information. And each of them, from the title to the description to the images, provide metadata that help us understand what your app does and who's most likely to use it. It sounds easy, but no one gets it right the first time. And this is why we created store listing experiments, to help you refine each of these elements. You already heard from Kobe and Milena about how these have helped developers over the last year. And the stat that 70% of top developers are using experiments is really incredible. Developers of all sizes are seeing real impact. And iteration is key for store listing experiments. In this example from Rovio, they focused on the icon and finding which one would most impact conversions. Here are 12 different treatments they explored with various outcomes. And they kept iterating. This is what we see from developers who are finding the most success. They continue to test and refine and understand user preferences. Ultimately, Rovio saw significant uplift as a result of their experiments. And back to discovery. Higher conversion rates from your listing to installs are an important signal, and they help us understand when a user has successfully gone from searching for an app to finding one that they think they'll love. So now you've built a great app, you've implemented important feedback, and you have a strong Play Store presence. What's next? There are different opportunities to expand your reach, depending on the type of app you have and the type of experiences that your users are looking for. Going global and finding audiences in new markets is a strategy that's worked extremely well for many developers. So we're going to explore a few tips and tools that can help you find success in new markets. So earlier we talked about the massive reach of Android. We've actually looked at the growth rates of apps that are available globally and those that are only available in specific markets. Global apps grew 2.4 times faster than non-global apps. Now, this makes intuitive sense. If you're in more markets, you have a larger addressable audience. But the data really proves it out. There are a few specific things to consider when you're planning to localize your app. First, you should use the Dev Console reports that we talked about to understand where new user bases are growing and prioritize localizing for those markets. Second, don't just translate, actually localize. This means ensure that you're culturally aware of local market expectations and be ready to support your new users. Last, always be prepared to test and iterate. New users means new feedback. A developer who did incredibly well with this is 1Password. They localized their store description, their screenshots, the content, and the messaging inside their app. And we looked at those signals to understand when the app was ready to be shown to local users. For 1Password, the investment really paid off. After 2 weeks of work, they saw 100x install growth in Korea. It was really pretty incredible. By focusing on local market users, it made a real difference. And in most cases, it's worth the effort if your plan is to grow through market expansion. And we have powerful tools to help, like the localization checklist, access to translation services, and the new pricing features that Kobe shared. So, we've reviewed the most important ways that you can directly affect the discoverability of your app, and some key actions that you can take right away. For Build Something Great, limit permissions and focus on beautiful design. Listen to your users. Feedback is a gift. Use it to get better. Optimize your presence. Experiment your way to improve conversions. And expand your reach. Go global and localize. We've also mentioned that all of these impact discovery within the store. So let's unpack how the store actually works and why each of these elements matter.
Uh-oh. There we go. I'm back. Great. So how are users actually discovering apps in Play? And what matters to those discovery mechanisms? So let's start with how users are actually finding apps today. The top discovery channels on Play are number 1, Play Search, 2, Recommendations, 3, Top Charts. So starting with search, about half of searches are specifically for an app title. This is where it's especially important when naming your app to be unique, keep it short, and make sure that it is not easily confused with a similarly named app. A well-named app also has the benefit of appearing within Google Play Search Suggest, which makes it even easier for users to find your app. By using Google Play Search Suggest, they don't even need to type in the full name to find the app. Half of searches are also by category or keyword. This is where it's important to make sure you select the right app category. Also, when you're writing the description of your app, it's great and important to be thorough and complete, making sure to include key functionality and features. You may have noticed there's actually a third way that an app can appear within given search results, and this is ads. Play Search ads are already part of AdWords app ad install campaigns and provide an additional placement within Play Search. So recommendations. Whether on the homepage or right after a user installs an app, Google Play recommends apps personalized for each user. Although there are a lot of components that go into those smarts, I just want to highlight a few for you today. These include metadata, app quality, user store activity, and web knowledge.
So charts are a common way for both new and returning users to gain a quick understanding of which apps are popular in the store and which apps are on their way to becoming popular. So we're going to share some insight into how these charts are put together with specific details on key components. Top free and top paid charts are primarily determined by installs within the last 7 days. We've kept this timeline fairly short because we want the charts to stay fresh and interesting week over week. Top new free and top new paid also look back at installs over the previous 7 days, but they're biased towards new apps, those that have launched on the store in the previous 30 days. This is important to make sure the charts aren't dominated by established titles. We want to help users find new and interesting apps wherever they look for them. Trending, on the other hand, identifies fast risers that have the potential to make it onto the top charts. Typically, this means that their installs have seen accelerated growth over the previous 30 days, but their absolute installs might not be as large as those on the other top charts. And finally, top grossing uses the same 7-day trailing approach, but is instead determined by spend. And of course, we're always tuning our algorithms to produce the best user experience. So these are subject to change. But hopefully, you have a better sense of what drives placement in the top charts and how we look at user preference to determine which apps to surface. Featuring. Everybody loves featuring. So we define featuring to mean the collections that appear across the store, either manually curated or algorithmically generated. Quality is the key driver for inclusion, and that's why we spent the first half of this talk focused on tools and strategies to help drive important quality signals. In addition to quality, we also want to surface trending apps to keep the store fresh, and we definitely want users to find apps that are using the latest Android features, things that truly make their experience and their phone special. If you meet the necessary quality bar, your app is eligible for appearing in certain collections where it makes contextual sense, fits a category or a topic, or where users have installed similar apps. With an even higher expectation of quality, we have collections showcasing new and updated apps, so users know they're getting great experiences that are hot off the presses. For seasonal collections and special promotions, our BD and merchandising teams work together to identify which apps to include. And we also use a healthy dose of machine learning to scale our efforts across categories and markets. It's important to note that within each of these collections, the recommendations engine helps determine which users see which apps. The most important thing is not that millions of users see your app, it's that millions of the right users see your app and go on to install it.
So now that we revealed the holy grail of app discovery, we want to leave you with 4 recommendations that you can do right now. Number one, for building a great app, we recommend reviewing Android's design principles. Does your app measure up? 2, for listening to your users, we recommend addressing user feedback, especially when it comes to bugs. Squash those bugs. Number 3, for optimizing your presence, why not try a store listing experiment? And finally, number 4, for expanding your reach, we recommend reviewing the market report in the developer console. So that's our talk for today. We're so excited to have you all here. We know we shared a lot of content with you, but the great news is that you can find everything you need in our new app, Playbook by Google Play. It replaces the business guide that some of you have seen called The Secrets to App Success on Google Play. There are a ton of great features, but it's brand new, so we would love your feedback. If you get a moment, please hop over to the Google Play Store and try it out. And of course, we want to leave you with a few helpful links. Thank you so much for coming from all of us.